Some of the questions I have received lately, for those that have followed, if you are new, there is a playlist called Small Family Living or Small Income Living. Just peruse through that list and you can kind of get an idea of what is going on. Small or long story short, my husband has been in school for the last 3.5 years. We moved up here so he could finish school. He is now graduated. I don't know if you are officially called a pastor until you have a congregation. There is a call, which basically means a church is interested, but there are some things to work out because it would be a huge change for our family as to where that call would take place. So lots of things to iron out and work out and pray over especially. But the last 3.5 years we have lived whatever I could bring in, as well as a part-time income check. And I have tried to share that with you as adequate or accurately and as truthfully as I humanly can. A lot of what we have tried to do has been to live off of that, but also try really hard not to pull from savings. After all of that, now we're going to get to where we are today and how this looks for our family now that my husband is graduated. And the first thing I want to address is, well, is your husband now working full-time? There's a 3-week trip coming up. Part of that involves things that we need to take care of. And then a huge part of that is going out to California and visiting our family. So both me and my husband are from California. All of our family, well, most of our family is in California. I have 2 sisters that moved up here to live with me who have recently decided to move back to their hometown. And my husband's family lives there as well. We are both from large families. I am the oldest of 9 and he is the third of 8. So we want to go back to California. We want to see everybody, especially because we have another life, circumstances happening. Another thing, if you're new and do not know this, my husband is almost 19 years older than me. His parents are more up there in years, and our children have grown up with their grandparents, both mine and my husband's, and we want to make sure that that relationship is still going strong in whatever way we can, and we want to visit them, especially because when we left 3.5 years ago, we didn't even have a teen, and now I have 2 teens, and a lot of the little kids that they knew are now grown up, and it would be nice for them to get to see the grandkids. So because of that, because we have this longer trip planned, my husband decided to continue working full-time for a number of reasons. One, the place he has been working with has been phenomenal and understanding to him for the part-time work he's given them. He's given them his all. Like, he is the first one there to make sure that things are ready to go for the day. He is usually the last one to leave, making sure that everything is closed up and everything put away. He's just always been the kind of guy that makes sure things are put away in a proper place and will maintain that proper place for whatever company he's working with. He's just always been that way. He will finish a job. He won't just stop in the middle of a job. He will finish a job before he heads home. So when the 5 o'clock bell hits, he is not necessarily gone. He will make sure that things are finished up and everything is completed before he heads home. So he gives it all, but they are also very gracious too. Like, he has to take some extra time off of work due to study. He always takes Wednesdays off. That is his day to kind of catch up on any kind of paperwork that he has fallen behind. Again, they've just been very understanding, and so he kind of wants to give that back as much as he can before he is now needing to write sermons once a week and needing to pour into his congregation. And so for most of May, for June, and for the first part of July, I believe he is going to give it his best to work full time. Which also means our income has doubled, which is kind of interesting to share, especially because in our current financial nation crisis, you're seeing most of the time, like, our income was cut in half. No, this time our income doubled, and that's because my husband's working full time. Because he's worked full time, and because I really want to kind of turn my heart more home, I have quit several side hustles, especially babysitting. And so we're going to, interruptions. So we are going to take this with me cutting back so I can turn my heart home, because he is working full time. I haven't cut out all my side hustles. Just letting you all know. I have not. There's a couple of jobs that I have. One is editing books, and one is a virtual assistant, basically an online secretary for a company. I love those jobs, and I'm keeping those. And whatever I can make from those, I will put on the mortgage payment, basically. Even with my husband working full time. Because this year, up until September, is going to be the same as every other year. And here's why. Every year my husband has gotten summer off from school, and he has been able to work full time. So from January to September, it's pretty much the same as it's always been. The difference is that usually when we're working in the summer, we are stocking that money and living still as frugally and simply as possible to prepare us for another school year. And from September to December is where our income is really going to show a difference on our tax return next year. Okay? So the sun literally is right in my eyes, so if I'm blinking a lot, this is why, but it's such a beautiful morning. I'm up early, which means most of the kids are still asleep. So what this looks like for us right now is, until we get back from California, my husband's going to work full time, because we're going to be pretty much stocking ahead for those 3 weeks that he's out of work. So we need to make sure that there's some kind of income there. Okay. At least I can see you now. And I'm also sunburned, that I just realized. And my hair's a mess because it's pool season, which means my hair does not do well. Okay, so it's not really going... When we get back, we can assess and we can figure out if this is a good fit for my family. In the sense that with this potential call, there may be some things that we need to do. And that's very complicated. I don't really think it has anything that this channel can really use, and so I'm not really going to go into a lot of details for that. Friends and family, no, they contact me, we share, I understand, but it's just more rambling and confusion for those that really aren't here for that kind of thing. So that's the idea, to assess when we get back. Also, because Working full time when you're 50, how old is he? This is ridiculous. This is how old I figure out my husband is. He's 1 year older than my mom, and my mom was 1970. So that's easy to figure out. It's 2023, so she's 53 years old, going to be 53 years old, which means my husband is 54 years old. That's how I figure out life. You can all laugh with me. It is kind of funny, actually. So my husband's 54 years old. My husband has dealt his entire adulthood, because it pretty much started at 18. He's pretty much dealt with clinical depression that is aggravated by exhaustion. He has not officially been diagnosed, so there's nothing on paper. So what I am telling you is just two licensed medical doctors' opinion and two licensed naturopaths' opinion, and unofficially diagnosed him with chronic fatigue, adrenal fatigue, and chronic fatigue, adrenal fatigue. Mainly those two. So when he works, he basically has to wait for an adrenaline spike to get the energy. But it takes a lot of work to get that energy spike. Basically, his body is exhausted. He has worked physically hard so much his entire life that his body is run down. Some people can do it and can maintain that. For whatever reason, he can't. He has a lot of gut issues. A lot of this stems just from his body is worn out. And so maintaining a full-time job, especially in the field that he works in a lumber yard, that is a lot of lifting, that is a lot of heavy stuff. And then they learned, oh, you used to be a mechanic. Here are some old vehicles that we really need some work on, which he was trying so hard to get out of that business because he did not enjoy working on vehicles. He did not enjoy being a mechanic. So, again, lots of hard work. He cannot maintain that. And so he comes home so drained, and he has to then turn around and try to pour into his family, pour into our little homestead here, pour into what he needs to do in order to keep on top of things like sermon writing, paper writing, Bible studies, all these kinds of things. So will we be able to maintain a full-time job? I don't know. Obviously, a congregation offers pay. This is something that I don't think I will ever really be able to get across adequately. You're just going to have to trust me on this. There are some congregations that are just small, and they cannot afford to keep a pastor full-time. And I feel like a lot of this I've already explained. I'm having to re-explain. But it's just how this works. And that's fine. If this is what my husband is called to do, if this is what God has called him to do, then he will find a way, and we will live comfortably and we will live well. God does not promise a life of ease on this earth. In fact, he has promised us opposite. Hard work has I've never been afraid of hard work. I've never been afraid of hard work. I have been afraid, I will say it, I have been afraid of falling into debt. That is a fear of mine. I have been afraid of not using my husband's hard-earned money well, and so that has put us into a financially insecure and unsafe place. That is a fear. We're told not to fear. I know, I get that comment all the time. I get it. But I work really hard to be wise with what my husband gives me. And I don't do that well all the time. I acknowledge I'm a spender. I've worked really hard to be prudent and wise. I don't always make it, but I'm working towards that. I get it. But there's a lot of falling down and picking yourself up, falling down and picking yourself up, and going. And that's why this channel was going. That's why this series was beginning. Because there are others out there like me. I know, I've sat with you and I've written budgets with you. I've held your hand. I've cried with you. I've encouraged you every step of the way. There are others out there like this. And that's why I keep doing what I'm doing. Because there is another generation coming up behind me that don't know how to use money. My daughter has a part-time job, a summer job, working at a local community market. So a little grocery store. You've actually seen some of their hauls. And she gets to talk with the coworkers. And one of the things that my daughter has learned, she's learned to leave her ATM card behind, because when you're exhausted, the easiest thing to do is to take that card out and get some sugary type things, and she doesn't want to spend her money that way. So proud of her. But one day she was there and she was talking with a coworker, and the coworker's a little bit older than her. And coworker was like, "Oh, I'm so thirsty. I just want to get an 87-cent fountain drink." And my daughter's like, "Why don't you? If you're so thirsty, go get a drink." And she's like, "I have 30 cents left on my card." And my daughter said, "You just got your paycheck. Where did it go?" She's like, "Oh, I just spent it." The girl still lives with her parents, still under the age. That is not an uncommon story. It's actually a story that I'm trying to teach my son not to have, because he was in a very similar boat. Paycheck in meant money to spend, paycheck gone. If you can save wherever you can, and if you can work a little bit harder at keeping your money with you, it is such a valuable tool and a valuable lesson that a lot are missing out on. With my daughter getting this job, we've talked about how to set up budgets, how to plan for the future, how to figure out expenses and things. And she's like, "Wow, you work so hard and it goes so fast." I'm like, yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. It's like, you think about when you purchase something, how many hours it took you to work for that. And suddenly things look a whole lot different. And that's why I wanted to show living small. People don't think they can do it. And they get trapped by debt. They get trapped under so much that they're sinking, and they just want to try to get out. And I get it. I get it. But if there's another way to do it, I want to help them find it. And I want to be there in order to encourage them to keep working on it. Because at the last week of the month, especially when you're on a tight budget, even if you budget well, there's still like one more week, and I can breathe a little easier. Because I got rabbit trails. I can find the rabbit trails and I will hop down them. Going back to husband full time. We'll have full time for a certain amount of time. I don't know how long. The budget you're going to see today is going to be the bare bones, and I'm going to ignore any extra that we have. Assume that what you've seen in the other videos of what my husband makes is now doubled. Easily. But I'm going to work on the bare bones. We're heading into June. That's another video that's going to be here. I got to film here today. We're heading into June because I have this trip coming up. I really want to focus on making sure that fridge and freezer and things are cleaned out that need to be cleaned out so I can prepare for our trip. So because of that, I don't know how much grocery shopping I'll be doing, which means I don't need to worry so much this month about how much grocery money I have. I was reprimanded recently in another video about my goal to continue using the mobile food pantry and taking food from other people while I'm trying to pay off my mortgage. So I use the mobile food pantry. The mobile food pantry basically is donated food from the stores. That is food that's about to be expiring, or thrown away late, or ordered too much, and if they donate it, they can get the tax write-off because they won't be able to sell it in time. That's how this mobile food pantry works. I go there. I can guarantee you every time I see I can talk to the people that do the sign up, and they know me, and I see that it's maybe a longer line than normal. Do you have enough for me? I can go. I can make this work this week. And they're like, we always have more than enough. There's not only enough for everybody in line, there's enough for the people that volunteer to pass it out. There's not only enough for everyone in line. Usually the people at the end of the line get a bit extra because they need to get it all out. You've seen the amount of food that sometimes we get because they have to get rid of that food in this drive. It's not sitting on a shelf necessarily waiting for somebody to come in that needs it. This is food that has to be gotten rid of. That has to be, is that grammatically correct? I think so. Gotten rid of that week, that day, as quickly as possible. So I'm not taking from anyone. If I can't make it, I don't make it. I still have stuff that's given to me. I don't keep it all. I pass out to members of my church. I do what I can to distribute it to those in my community that I know that need it. But if I can, I've made that video on why it's important to me to pay off the mortgage. And now with the possibility of where we would end up as a family to serve a congregation, I feel even more confident that this is something that God has laid on my heart, because this will help our family in so many ways. So many ways. Where we're looking at, houses are so expensive. Paying off our mortgage and using this money as a down payment is still going to make our mortgage higher than what we're paying now. I can't imagine having less and then having to try to figure out the mortgage payment for more. It's not so I can get ahead of the game and become a millionaire. This is how I make it work. So I'm not taking food from anybody. This is a mobile food pantry. The other pantries, they have the same stuff every week, and I go in there when they're opened, the first and third, if they're a pantry, not a mobile food pantry, but a pantry. And I ask them, is it a good week, or has it been a busy week? Should I come back another time? I can make it work. This just helps me out a little bit. And they're always like, there's plenty. There's plenty. And a lot of times they're asking people, can you take more of this? Can you take more of this? Because they have to get it out. I've seen food pantry hauls, and I don't I don't have that kind of food pantry. Ours is pretty much stored, donated, gotta get it out kind of food pantries in my particular county, which is where I am allowed to go because I live in this county. If I go outside this county, the most popular video I have on my channel is my very first food pantry experience. That was outside my county. That was a unique situation. I did not understand. They were very gracious. That has more of a food pantry aspect to it. But it's outside my county. I have not gone back. Follow the rules. Again, it's helping our family in one way stay enough ahead so that I'm not put into a position of needing it to survive. There's the thing called being proactive and reactive. I'm trying to be proactive so I don't have to be reactive. This is all donated food. I feel like I'm just rambling at this point, so I'm just going to cut it off there. But that's how this works. If at any point in time I notice that they just did not have enough to make what I have work, and I can go to the grocery store and we can do beans and rice, it's not a problem. We can make it work. But this is a blessing. I don't know how long this blessing is going to go. That's what I'm going to do. So there you go. I think I've covered everything. Husband working until I think we get back. I think then we'll kind of go back to we'll reassess at that point. That's what the future looks like. This is why I'm so... Check that video out about why I'm so passionate about paying off my mortgage. There's a reason. A lot of us YouTubers have noticed that there's just a lot of bitter people lately in the comments. And I don't know if it's the stress of the nation or just people don't care anymore. It's kind of sad. So, not here to justify. I'm here to encourage the friends that are willing to listen. The friends that have been on this. It's like a letter to y'all. There you go. Here's this. If there's any questions, please leave it down in the comments below. I kind of have like a basic outline in my head when I sit down to film the videos. It doesn't necessarily mean I get to follow my outline, especially when there's a lot of interruptions. Or distractions. I should say distractions. So, if there's any questions, go ahead and leave them down below. I would love to help answer in any way I can. I haven't been brave enough to offer this. But if I can help you in any way, shape, or form with your budget, I am most happy to give you my opinion, help you where I can. You can find my email in the description box below. I will end here. Thank you for watching. I have a lot to do today. Some of it you will see shortly. And I'll see you in the next one.